श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सागरं रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिने नाम्ने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकारिणे श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay. The conditioned soul, this is teaching Lord Chaitanya. Just to come back. What is this? Something is wrong. Why is it like this? A conditioned soul falsely thinks himself happy in the material world. But if he is favored by an unalloyed devotee, if he hears the unalloyed devotee's instructions, he gives up his desire for material enjoyment and becomes enlightened in Krishna consciousness. As soon as one enters into Krishna consciousness, his desire for material enjoyment is at once vanquished and he gradually becomes free from material entanglement. There is no question of darkness where there is light, and Krishna consciousness is the light that dispels the darkness of material sense enjoyment. A Krishna conscious person is never under the false conception that he is one with God, knowing that he would not be happy working for himself. He engages all his energies in the service of the Supreme Lord and thereby gains release from the clutches of the illusory material energy. In this connection, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted a verse from the Bhagavad Gita 7.14, where Krishna states, Daivi hyesha gunamayi mamamaya duratteya mame viye prapadyante mayametam taranti te. My material energy, composed of the three modes of material nature, is very strong. It is very difficult to escape the clutches of the material energy, but one who surrenders unto me is easily free from the clutches of Maya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on to teach that each and every moment the conditioned soul is engaged in some fruitive activity, he forgets his real identity. Sometimes, when he is tired of material activities, he wants liberation and hankers to become one with the Supreme. But at other times, he thinks that by working hard to gratify his senses, he'll be happy. In both cases, he is covered by the material energy. For the enlightenment of such bewildered conditioned souls who are working under a false identification, the Supreme Lord has presented us with voluminous Vedic literature, including the Vedas, the Puranas, and the Vedanta Sutra. These are all intended to guide the human being back to Godhead. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further explained that when a conditioned soul is accepted by a spiritual master out of his mercy and is guided by the super soul, the soul can take advantage of the various Vedic literatures, become enlightened, and make progress in spiritual realization. It is because Lord Krishna is always merciful to his devotees that he has presented all this Vedic literature by which one can understand his relationship with him and can act on the basis of that relationship. In this way, one is gifted with the ultimate goal of life. Actually, every living entity is destined to understand his relationship with the Supreme Lord and ultimately to reach him. The execution of duties to attain this perfection is known as devotional service. And in maturity, such devotional service becomes love of God, the true goal of life for every living being. The living entity should not desire success in religious rituals, economic development, or sense enjoyment, or even liberation. One should desire only to achieve the stage of transcendental loving service to the Lord, pure Krishna consciousness. The all attractive features of Lord Krishna help one attain the stage of pure devotional service, and one who engages in the preliminary practices of Krishna consciousness can ultimately realize the relationship between himself and Krishna. In this connection, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu related a story from Srila Madhvacharya's commentary on the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.10 to 13. Actually, the story does not come in Madhvacharya's commentary. If I wait, I'll just open it up. Where? But Madhvacharya talks about Sarvagya. इति सर्वज्ञस्य गुरोः प्रत्यक्षलक्षणानि अपि शास्त्रैः निरूप्यन्ते. The characteristics of Sarvagya. Sarvagya should be accepted as a bona fide spiritual master is called a Sarvagya. Who's speaking this? This is Rishabhate. This is Rishabhate. Rishabhate is speaking to his sons. Hamse Gurau Mai Nityana Vidya. He Putra Hamse Paramahamsa Swarupe Gurau Hitopadeshtari Thami Bhagavaticha Anavidya. By being fixed on Paramahamsa, spiritual master, spiritual instructor, as well as me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like this. This story involves the instructions of an astrologer, Sarvagya, to a poor man who came to have him, to have his future told. When the astrologer saw the man's horoscope, he was astonished that the man was so poor, and he said to him, "Why are you so unhappy? From your horoscope, I can see that you have a hidden treasure left to you by your father. However, the horoscope indicates that your father could not disclose this to you because he died in a foreign place. But now you can search out this treasure and be happy." This story is cited because the living entity is suffering due to his ignorance of the hidden treasure of his Supreme Father Krishna. That treasure is love of God. In every Vedic scripture, the conditioned soul is advised to find it. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, although the conditioned soul is a son of the wealthiest personality, the personality of God, he does not realize it. Therefore, the Vedic literature is given to him to help him search out his father and his paternal property. The astrologer further advised the poor man, don't dig on the southern side of your house to find the treasure. Or if you do so, you will be attacked by a poisonous wasp and will be baffled in your efforts to find the treasure. Search on the eastern side, where there is actual light, which is devotional service or Krishna consciousness. On the southern side, there are Vedic rituals. On the western side, there is mental speculation. And on the northern side, there is meditational yoga. The astrologer's advice should be carefully noted by everyone. If one searches for the ultimate goal by the Vedic ritualistic process, he will surely be baffled. Such a process involves the performance of rituals under the guidance of a priest who takes money in exchange for service. A man may think he'll be happy by performing such rituals, but this is not true. Even if he does gain some result from them, some beneficial result from them, it is only temporary. His material distresses will continue. So karma is superior to anya vilashita because it can provide some material benefit, but it cannot remove the material distresses that we are experiencing. So this material distresses will continue. So he will never become truly happy by following the ritualistic process. Instead, his material pangs will increase more and more. The same may be said for digging on the northern side or searching for the treasure of love of God by means of the meditational yoga process. Neither karma nor jnana nor yoga. The perfection of this process is to think oneself one with the Supreme Lord. But this merging into the Supreme is like being swallowed by a large serpent. Sometimes a small serpent is swallowed by a large serpent. And merging into the spiritual existence of the Supreme is analogous. While the small serpent is searching after perfection, he is swallowed. This is spiritual suicide. On the western side, there is also an impediment in the form of a yaksha. an evil spirit who protects the treasure. This yaksha is jnana yoga, the speculative process of self-realization. The idea is that a hidden treasure can never be found by one who asks the favor of a yaksha to attain. The result is that one will simply be killed. So while the yogi is practicing meditation, it's like a small serpent being swallowed by a large serpent. Practicing the speculative process to attain the treasure of love of Godhead is also suicidal. Okay. Okay, so here we have Bhakti Marga. Bhakti Labhartha Karma Marge Vipadasham. There's a calamity on the pathway of karma in order to attain bhakti or material enjoyment. That is in the southern side because there is a wasp. Then in the western side, Vibhuti Siddhi Labhartha Yoga Marge Vipadashanka. There is a danger on the pathway of yoga when one is going towards attaining the perfections of Vibhuti, various Vibhutis, various mystic opulences, and so on. Of course, ultimately, the yogis might argue the ultimate opulence is to merge into the Paramatma. But even then, there'll be plenty of problems because there's a yaksha there. Sayujya Labhartha Jnanamarge Padashanka 134. There is danger on the pathway of Jnana that leads towards Sayujya, attainment of Sayujya. Yeah. Okay, 134 onwards. উত্তরে খুদিলে আছে কৃষ্ণ অজগরে ধন নাহি পাবে উদিতে গিলিবে সবারে. If you dig on the northern side, there's a big black snake that will devour you if you attempt to dig up the treasure. That is 134. Okay, 134. Here. It is coming. Okay. We'll read up to 135. Then, পূর্বে বা পুরাণ বা নিত্য শাশ্বত ধন কৃষ্ণ ভক্তি একমাত্র আপদ শূন্য. But on the eastern side, or from the past, there has been since ancient times an eternal treasure in the form of Krishna Bhakti itself. The pursuit of that alone is freed from all calamities, is freed from all dangers, all risks. 135. পূর্ব দিকে তাতে মাটি অল্প দিতে ধনের ঝাড়ি পড়িবে তোমার হাতেতে. However, if you dig up a small quantity of dirt on the eastern side, your hands will immediately touch the pot of treasure. 132 to 135, Anubhashya. No, 135, Amrta-Pravaha. বেদ ও পুরাণ শাস্ত্র অনেক প্রকার উপায়ের কথা স্থানে স্থানে লিখিয়াছেন. In the Vedas and the Puranic scriptures, in various places, a number of different processes have been written. তাহাতে কোন দিকে ভীমরুল বরুলি অর্থাৎ বলতা রূপ কর্মকাণ্ড, কোন দিকে জ্ঞানকাণ্ড রূপ যক্ষ, কোন দিকে কৃষ্ণবর্ণ অজগর রূপ যোগগত কৈবল্য, আবার কোন দিকে রক্ষিত ধনের পাত্র Alpa Purishrame Hate Aishu. So in a particular direction, one will have to face the wasp of Karmakanda. In another direction, the Yaksha of Jnanakanda. In another direction, the black serpent of yogic Kaivalya. And then in another direction, with little effort, the hand will be able to touch the carefully protected wealth. অতএব বেদ শাস্ত্র কর্ম জ্ঞান ও যোগ ত্যাগপূর্বক ভক্তিপথেই যে কৃষ্ণ প্রাপ্তি হয় ইহা বলিয়াছেন. Therefore, the Vedic scriptures, they have said, after abandoning karma, jnana and yoga, one who goes through the pathway of bhakti alone will attain Krishna. Anubhashya. उपमे যথা পূর্ব দিকে কৃষ্ণ ভক্তি, দক্ষিণ দিকে কর্মকাণ্ড, পশ্চিম দিকে সিদ্ধিকাণ্ড, মতান্তরে জ্ঞানকাণ্ড, উত্তর দিকে জ্ঞানকাণ্ড, মতান্তরে যোগকাণ্ড. Regarding the objects of comparison, the eastern direction is compared to Krishna Bhakti. Southern direction, okay, it is said that Krishna Bhakti is found in the eastern direction, Karma Kanda, southern direction, Siddhi Kanda, or else Jnana Kanda is found in the western direction, Jnana Kanda or else Yoga Kanda are found in the northern direction. So in the western direction is found Siddhi Kanda or Yoga Kanda. According to the opinion of certain authorities, it is Jnana Kanda. Whereas, okay, that is the west. In the northern direction, supposed to be Jnana Kanda, but according to some authorities, it is Yoga Kanda. Ihar Upaman. And see, one is compared to another. So here, the various items that are related to this are explained. Purvadike, in the eastern direction, is one's paternal wealth. Dakshindike, in the southern direction, Bhimarul Boruli, a wasp, black wasp. Paschimdike, Jakha, western direction is a Yaksha. Uttardike, the northern direction, is Krishna Sarpa, a black serpent. Dakshina Margiya Sadhan, Phalabhoga Karmakanda. The pathway to the south, that is Karmakanda, that is focused on enjoyment of material benefits. Yamadandyagan Dakshina Graham Pariya, fall Arup Kore. Interestingly, he refers to this as the pathway of Dakshina. Now, Dakshina means you give Dakshina in charity. So he's referring to this Karmakanda itself as the pathway of Dakshina. And he says that persons who are fit to be punished by Yamaraj, they accept this Dakshina. And they give the idea that you can get these benefits. एक कर्म मार्गे जीव भोग वासना रूप भीमरुल मुरली और त्रि दष्ट हइया क्लेश लाभ करे. On this pathway of karma, the living entity gets bitten by the desire for sense enjoyment, which is comparable to a wasp. And he experiences pain. Ihate tahar bhoger आशा पूर्ण होय ना. So this hankering for material enjoyment is not fulfilled. Uttarottar vriddhi prapto hoy matra. On the other hand, it simply increases and increases and increases. Uttaramargiya sadhanai, siddhi pancha or yoga marg. Then there's the northern pathway. That pathway is the pathway of yoga, in which one hankers for siddhis. Tahate, in that pathway, Kaivalya Rup Krishna Varna Ajagar Sattva Shuddha Jeev Satta ke ग्रास करे. On this pathway, you have a black serpent, a large serpent in the form of Kaivalya, which swallows up the existence of the pure Jiva. Kaharomate, according to the opinion of some, Uttaramargiya sadhanai nishkam jnanamarg. The northern pathway is the pathway of dispassionate jnanamarga, the pathway of jnana, devoid of material passion. तथा है शुद्ध जीव सत्ता ब्रह्म सायुज्य रूप कृष्ण सर्पेर कवलग्रस्त. And according to them, the existence of the pure Jivatma is under the clutches of the black serpent of Brahma Sayujya. Then he continues. Yaksha धन आगलाइया था, अर्थात धनेर रक्षा करता, धन प्रदाता न है. That yaksha that is being discussed here, he protects the wealth. He is not going to give that wealth to you. यक्षेर निकट प्रार्थिगणेर विनाश व्यतीत धन लाभ दुराशा मात्र. अर्थात धन लोभे प्रलोभित क्रिया यक्ष परिशेषे ग्रहण अभिलाषी विनाशकारी. Those who pray to that yaksha for favors do not attain that wealth. That simply remains a distant hope. Rather, they attain destruction. In other words, that yaksha allures one by invoking the greed for that wealth. Then finally, when one is hankering to take that wealth, it destroys that person. वस्तुतः ज्ञानमार्गे बा योगमार्गे सायुज्य बा कैवल्य उभय जीव सत्ता संहार कर. Actually, in both Jnanamarga and Yoga Marga, Sayujya or Kaivalya simply destroy the existence of the Jiva. Krishna Bhakti Baddha Jive Purva अर्थात सिद्ध thought. It is Krishna Bhakti that is in the Purva direction. Purva means east, but Purva also means in the past, earlier. So Krishna Bhakti itself is the wealth that was already in existence for the conditioned souls. Taha Lav Kuriya Shuddha Jeev Nitya Kal Dhani. After attaining that, the pure Jiva is rich for all time. Bhakti Dhan Heen Bhakti Jadiya Nashar Abhavrasta Vaya Kokhano Karmaru Shivarule Dongshane Chotfot Kore Dhan Pan আবার কখনো কৃষ্ণের দিকে পশ্চাৎ করিয়া অহংগ্রহ উপাসনায় বা কৈবল্য সাধনে ব্যস্ত হইয়া যোগ पर्त्रे प्रेम धन हईते वंचित हन आबार उत्तरे अर्थात शुद्ध जीव सत्ता राहित्ये सायुज्य বা কৈবল্য সর্পের গ্রাসে পতিত হইলে ও ধন লাভ করেন না. So that person who is devoid of this treasure of bhakti, he sometimes becomes captured by the need or the lack of temporary material objects and is bitten by the wasp of karma. He suffers. He does not attain that. Sometimes they experience deception by a yaksha, the yaksha of yoga, which keeps them very busy in the pursuit of kaivalya or in the meditational process of ahangraha upasana. So they may be chasing for Krishna, the absolute truth, but this is what they get. And then there are those who go towards the north. They fall under they get swallowed by the serpent of Sayujya or Kaivalya, which takes away the existence of the pure Jiva. Under all these circumstances, they do not attain the wealth of Krishna Bhakti. Purport. The Vedic literatures, including the Puranas, state that according to the position of the conditioned soul, there are different processes: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, the yogic process, and the Bhakti Yoga process. Karma Kanda is compared to wasps and drones that will simply bite if one takes shelter of. Jnana Kanda, the speculative process, is simply like a guru who creates mental disturbances. Yoga, the mystic process, is compared to a black snake that devours people by the impulsive cultivation of kaivalya. However, if one takes to Bhakti Yoga, it becomes quickly successful. In other words, through Bhakti Yoga, one's hands touch the hidden treasure without difficulty. The goal of all the revealed scriptures and Vedic injunctions is Krishna, as he himself says in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Vedesya sarvairahameva vedyaha. Since the Vedas enjoin one to search out Krishna and take shelter at his lotus feet, and since no Vedic process but devotional service will enable one to do this, one has to take to devotional service. According to the Bhagavad Gita 18.55, only the bhakti process is said to be definitive. Bhakti amam abhijanati. This is a conclusive statement of the Vedas, and one has to accept this process if one is serious in searching for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following statement. The eastern side represents devotional service to Lord Krishna. The southern side represents the process of fruitive activity, karma kanda, which ends in material gain. The western side represents jnana kanda, the process of mental speculation, or sometimes siddhi kanda, the mystic yoga system. Northern side represents mystic yoga or sometimes the speculative method. It is only the eastern side devotion service that enables one to attain life's real goal. On the southern side, there are fruitive activities by which one is subject to the punishment of Yamaraj. When one follows the system of fruitive activity, his material desires remain prominent. Consequently, the results of this process are compared to wasps and drones. The living entity is bitten by the wasps and drones of fruitive activity and thus suffers in material existence birth after birth. One cannot become free from material desires by following this process. The propensity for material enjoyment never ends. Therefore, the cycle of birth and death continues and the spirit soul suffers perpetually. The mystic yoga process is compared to a black snake that devours a living entity and injects him with poison. The ultimate goal of the yoga system is to become one with the absolute. This means finishing one's personal existence. But the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an eternal individual existence. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that the individual soul existed in the past, is existing in the present, and will continue to exist as an individual in the future. Artificially trying to become one with the Absolute is suicidal. One cannot annihilate his natural condition. A yaksha, a protector of riches, will not allow anyone to take away riches for enjoyment. Such a demon will simply create disturbances. In other words, the devotee will not depend on his material resources, but on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can give real protection. This is called Rakshishyati Vishwasaha. Or, in the Bengali poetry of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sharanagati, Amrta-Pravaha Rakhibe Krishna Vishwas Palon. The surrendered soul must accept the fact that his real protector is Krishna, not his material acquisitions. Considering all these points, devotion service to Krishna is a real treasure house for the living entity. When one comes to the platform of devotion service, he always remains opulent in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is bereft of devotion service is swallowed by the black snake of the yoga system and bitten by the wasps and drones of fruitive activity, and he suffers consequent material miseries. Sometimes a living entity is misled into trying to merge into spiritual existence, thinking himself as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that when he comes to the spiritual platform, he will be disturbed and will again return to the material platform. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32, Yenyeravandakshivuktamaninas Vayasta Bhavada Vishuddha Buddhaya Arohya Krichnena Parampadam Tatah Patantyadho Nadrata Yushmadangraya. Such people may become sannyasis, but unless they take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, they will return to the material platform to perform philanthropic activities. In this way, one's spiritual life is lost. This is to be understood as being devoured by the black snake. Okay. That is 135. Okay, what's this? Okay, heading for 136. Okay, but wait. Let me also read out. Okay, the only possibility then is to search for the hidden treasure on the eastern side, which represents the process of devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. Indeed, the process of devotion service is itself the perpetual hidden treasure, and one who attains to it becomes perpetually rich. Rich means rich with the wealth of Krishna Prema. One who is poor in devotional service to Krishna is always in need of material gain. Sometimes he suffers the bites of poisonous creatures and is baffled. Sometimes he follows the philosophy of monism and thereby loses his identity and is swallowed by a large serpent. It is only by abandoning all this and becoming fixed in Krishna consciousness, devotional service to the Lord, that one can actually achieve the perfection of life. Okay, then we'll go back here. Heading Shuddha Bhakti Bole Krishna Prema Labhari Savashastreya Tatparja. Attainment of Krishna Prema on the strength of pure bhakti is the intended goal of all the scriptures. The purport of all the scriptures is to help the living entity understand how to attain Krishna Prema by taking strength from pure devotion service to Krishna. 136. ओइछे शास्त्र कहे कर्म ज्ञान योग तेजी भक्ते कृष्ण बश होय भक्ते तारे भजी. The revealed scriptures conclude that one should give up fruitive activity, speculative knowledge, and strict yoga system, and instead take to devotion service by which Krishna can be fully satisfied. Bhakti Krishna bosh hoy. Krishna comes under the loving control of a devotee who engages in pure devotion service to him. 136. Okay. Heading Bhagavan Bhakti Ekalabhya. Bhagavan can only be attained through bhakti to him. Bhakti bolei muchi or shuchi. By the strength of bhakti, the muchi is also shuchi. The unclean person is also cleansed. Srimad Bhagavate, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is a quote from 11.14.20 and 21, 137, 138. न साधयति माम योगो न सांख्यम धर्म उद्धव न स्वाध्यायस्तपस्त्यागो यथा भक्तिर ममोर्जिता. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna said, my dear Uddhava, neither through Ashtanga Yoga, the mystic yoga system to control the senses, nor through impersonal monism or an analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through study of the Vedas, nor through austere charity or acceptance of sannyas, can one satisfy me as much as by developing unalloyed devotion service unto me. One 38. 137 already came. Adi 17.76. 138. Bhaktya hamikaya grahya श्रद्धयात्मा प्रिय सताम भक्ति पुनाति मन्निष्ठा स्वपाकान अपि संभवात्. Being very dear to the devotees and sadhus, I am attained through unflinching faith and devotion service. This bhakti yoga system, which gradually increases attachment for me, purifies even a human being born among dog eaters. That is to say, everyone can be elevated to the spiritual platform by the process of bhakti yoga. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sadhu Diyer Priya Ami. I am very dear to the saintly persons. Ananya Shraddha Janita Bhakti Dwarai Prapta Hoy. I can only be attained through bhakti that is born from exclusive faith. Ananya Shraddha. Bhakti Manishta Chandal ke o Janmadosh hoite paritran kore. It is bhakti to me that delivers even a Chandala who is fixed in me from the defects caused by his birth. 138. Uddhave Prashner Uttare Sri Krishner Ukti. This is Sri Krishna's answer to a question posed by Uddhava. Satam Nitya Sevakanam Sajjananam Priyah Sevyah Atma Prishtah Aham Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. The original personality of Godhead Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, is the dearmost object of service of the good souls who are constantly engaging in services to me. So Lord Krishna is speaking. And I am their very soul, meaning that I am most dear to them. Ekaya avyabhicharinya ahaitukya shraddhaya shraddhapurvikaya bhaktiya grahyah sadhyah prapyah labhyah. I can only be grasped, that means attained by that kind of bhakti which is preceded by faith that is exclusive. That means faith that is unadulterated, without any motivation. Mannishtha Krishnayikase Vanadharma Tatpara Bhakti. Bhakti that is fixed on me, meaning bhakti that is focused on the duty of exclusively serving Lord Krishna. That kind of bhakti, Swapakan, Nicha, Kula Udbhavan Janan, Api Sambhavat, Praktana Dushkriti Janita Shaukra Jati Doshat Punati. That kind of bhakti purifies even a person born in low families like the family of a dog eater from his birth, which means from the defects caused due to having a seminal birth in such a family due to ancient sinful activities. (139). Before that, that's a heading. सर्वशास्त्रे कृष्ण प्राप्ति साधन भक्ति रही अभिधेयत्व गीत. In all the scriptures, it has been it is sadhan bhakti to attain Krishna that has been celebrated as the abhideya. Now, abhideya in Sanskrit simply means the purport, but it has this sense, the instruction. So, if you are asking what is the Veda gives some information. It gives some information. It provides some understanding. It gives some information. But that's just theoretical. But then what does it practically tell you to do? That is Abhideya. So the practical instruction of the Veda, that is Abhideya. And that Abhideya is to engage in pure devotion service to Krishna. And what goal does it have? What is the prayojana? That is Krishna Prema. So with the desire for Krishna Prema, with the desire to exclusively please Krishna, one must execute pure devotion service to Krishna. So this is Abhideya, and this has been sung about, or this has been celebrated with happiness in all the scriptures. 139. অতএব ভক্তি কৃষ্ণ প্রাপ্তির উপায় অভিধেয় বলি তারে সর্বশাস্ত্রে গায়. The conclusion is that devotion service is the only means for approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This system is therefore called Abhideya. This is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. 139. Purport. As Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 18.55, Tyamam avijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah tato mam tatotam gyatva vishate tadanantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotion service. And one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion. He can enter into the kingdom of God. The aim of life is to get rid of the material conditioning and enter into spiritual existence. Although the Shastras prescribe different methods for different men, the Supreme Personality of Godhead says that one ultimately must accept the path of devotion service as the assured path of spiritual advancement. Devotion service to the Lord is the only process actually confirmed by the Lord. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. One must become a devotee if one wants to return home back to God and become eternally blissful. Heading. Drishtanta. An example. 140. ধন পাইলে জৈছে সুখ ভোগ ফল পায়, সুখ ভোগ হইতে দুঃখ আপনি পলায়. When one actually becomes rich, it naturally enjoys all kinds of happiness. When one is actually in a happy mood, all distressful conditions go away by themselves. No extraneous endeavor is needed. Heading: संबंध युक्त सेवा फले कृष्ण प्रीति वृद्धि तत्संगे संगे मुक्ति बा अनर्थ निवृत्ति. As a result of seva with sambandha, that means with knowledge of sambandha, there is increase of affection for Lord Krishna, and along with that comes mukti or anartha nivriti. 141. Toiche bhakti phale Krishne prem upajay preme Krishna swad hoile bhavanashi paay. Similarly, as a result of bhakti, one's dormant love for Krishna awakens. When one is so situated that he can taste the association of Lord Krishna, material existence, the repetition of birth and death, comes to an end. Okay, wait. What do we have? Chapter 5, How to Approach God. In truth, all Vedic literature directs the human being towards the perfect stage of devotion. The paths of fruitive activity, speculative knowledge, and meditation do not lead one to the professional stage, but the Lord is actually approachable by one who follows the process of devotional service. Therefore, all Vedic literature recommends that one accept this process. In this regard, Caitanya Mahaprabhu quoted from the Lord's instructions to Uddhava in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.14.20-21. My dear Uddhava, neither philosophical speculation, nor meditational yoga, nor penances can give me such pleasure as devotion service practiced by the living entities. I am dear only to my devotees, and I can be achieved only by devotion service. Even an extremely low-born person will become free from all contamination if he takes to my devotion service. Devotion service is the only path by which one can achieve the Supreme Person. Devotion service is the only perfection accepted by all Vedic literatures. Just as when a poor man receives some treasure, he becomes happy. When one attains to devotion service, his material pains are automatically vanquished. As one advances in devotion service, he attains love of God. And as he advances in this love, he becomes free from all material bondage. One should not think, however, that the disappearance of poverty and the liberation from bondage are the goals of devotional service. Love of Krishna, love of God is itself the goal, and it consists in relishing the reciprocation of loving service with the Lord. So, love of God, it means this. It consists in relishing the reciprocation of loving service with the Lord. In all Vedic literatures, we find that the attainment of this loving relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Lord is the goal of devotional service. Our actual function is devotional service, and our ultimate goal is love of Godhead. Therefore, in all Vedic literatures, Krishna is the ultimate center, and through knowledge of Krishna, all problems of life are solved. In fact, the expression sambandha also has a sense of central point of reference. So the idea is that the Vedas are not actually chaotically talking about different things. It may give that appearance intentionally to attract different types of conditioned souls. But factually speaking, the Vedic literature has a central theme, and that theme is Krishna. It is connected to Krishna, the personality of Krishna, how is related to the material world, how is related to the living entities, how he exists in the spiritual world, and so on. How one can attain him, how one should engage in devotional service to him. Krishna. So Krishna is the central theme of the Vedic scriptures. That is what is meant by the Gaudiya Vaishnava expression Sambandha. Heading: Krishna Priti Mula Seva. Okay. Krishna Priti Mula Seva Mukhya Fall. Krishna Premananda Labh. Gauna Fall. Vaimukhya Nivritti O Mukti. the primary result of service to Lord Krishna, that is founded on Krishna Priti, on the desire to make Krishna happy, that is attainment of the bliss of Krishna Prema itself. The bliss of Krishna Prema simply means this: when one makes Krishna happy, when one sees that Krishna is happy, one becomes happy. The happiness one experiences when one sees Krishna happy is called the happiness of Krishna Prema. It is ordinary. It's just even, it is, of course, it's extraordinary, but it's ordinarily understood that the happiness of selfless affection, like for instance, a mother is happy when the child is happy. So you're talking of, say, there's a mother who is selfless affection for her child. Of course, this selfless affection is based on illusion. It is also interrupted in many ways and so on, with probably a lot of occasional contaminations of selfishness also. But just for example, a selfless mother finds happiness. That happiness is considered to be the happiness of love. So now the original pure version of it is the happiness of Krishna Prema. Gauna fall, Vaimukhya Nivritti. The secondary result of such service to Krishna that leads to this Krishna Prema is to become free from aversion towards Lord Krishna and to become liberated from the pangs of material existence. 142. Daridrya nash bhavakhay premer fall noy prem sukham bhog mukhya prayojana hoy. The goal of love of God is not to become materially rich or free from material bondage. The real goal is to be situated in devotional service to the Lord and to enjoy transcendental bliss. So destruction of poverty or destruction of material existence. Material existence means the repetition of birth and death. That is not even the factual result of attaining love of Krishna. Amrta-Pravaha Bhashya. Krishna seva asvader mukhya falai premaso. Krishna bahirmukhatai jive daridrata. The primary result of relishing service to Lord Krishna is actually the happiness of love for Krishna. And one's aversion to Lord Krishna is what is meant by the poverty of the jiva. Like here it says, Daridrya nash, end of poverty stricken. That factually that poverty stricken life is nothing but one's aversion to Lord Krishna. Ei dauridrata nash, evam samsar khoy, Krishna seva asvader sange sange, avantar fall rupe, udita hoy. And destruction of that poverty, as well as extinction or destruction of one's existence in the material world, in samsara chakra, birth, death, old age, disease, birth, death, old age, disease, birth, death, old age, disease, and so on. That simultaneously occurs as one religious service to Lord Krishna. That comes about as a side benefit. These are all side benefits. Vastutaha, mukhya fall noy. These are not the main benefits. The results of devotional service are certainly not material benefits or liberation from material bondage. The goal of devotional service is to be eternally situated in the loving service of the Lord and to enjoy spiritual bliss from that service. One is said to be in a poverty-stricken condition when one forgets the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to end such a life of poverty. In order to automatically end the miserable conditions of material existence, one is automatically liberated from material enjoyment when one tastes the service of Krishna. One does not have to endeavor separately for opulence. Opulence automatically comes to the pure devotee even though he does not desire material happiness. Heading: Vede Krishna Sambandha, Bhakti Abhide, Prem Prayojan. In the Vedas, Krishna is a Sambandha, Bhakti is Abhidaya, and Prema is Prayojana. 143. वेद शास्त्रे को ही संबंध अभिदय अभिधेय प्रयोजन Krishna Krishna Bhakti Prem, Teen Mahadhan. In the Vedic literatures, Krishna is a central point of attraction. So that is the meaning of Sambandha. And his service is our activity, Abhideya. The practical instruction is what is referred to as Abhideya. To attain the platform of love of Krishna is life's ultimate goal. Prayojan means the goal or the need, necessity, ultimate necessity. Prabhupada says in one place. To attain the platform of love of Krishna is life's ultimate goal. Therefore, Krishna, Krishna service, and love of Krishna are the three great riches of life. Heading: Sambandha Jnane Sange Sange Bhavabandhan Mochan. Side by side, along with Sambandha Jnana, one attains liberation from the bondage of material existence. 144. Vedadi Sakal Shastre Krishna Mukhya Sambandha Tar Jnane Anushange Jai Maya Bodha. In all revealed scriptures, beginning with the Vedas, the central point of attraction is Krishna. Notice the expression, central point of attraction. Central point of attraction. Central point or central attraction. So Sambandha means the reference or the central point of discussion. When complete knowledge of him is realized, the bondage of Maya, the illusory energy, is automatically broken. Heading: Sagra Purani, O Agame, Vishnu Ri, Parameshwaratta Varnita. In the entirety of the Puranic corpus and in all the various scriptures, there is nothing but the description of Lord Vishnu being the Parameshwara, the Supreme Lord. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Dhrita Padma Purane Vaishak Mahatmye Jamo Brahman Sangade. And then there is a quote that is found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.4.142. It is from Padma Purana in the Vaishakha Mahatmya section, in a conversation between Yamaraj and a Brahmana. 145. Vyamohaya characharasya jagatastete puranagamas tam tameva hi devatam paramikam jalpantu kalpa vadhi siddhante punareka eva bhagavan vishnu samastagama vyapareshu vivechana vyatikaram niteshu nischiyate. There are many types of Vedic literatures and supplementary Puranas. In each of them, there are particular demigods who are spoken of as the chief demigods. This is just to create an illusion for moving and non-moving living entities. Let them perpetually engage in such imaginations. However, when one analytically studies all these Vedic literatures collectively, he comes to the conclusion that Lord Vishnu is the one and only Supreme Personality of Godhead. से पुराण व आगम ग्रंथ सकल तत्तुत्तिष्ठ देवतागण के चराचरेर मोह उत्पादनेर जन्य प्रधान बलिया कल्पावती जल्पना करिते थाकुन. All those Puranas and other scriptures, let them go on claiming till the end of Brahma's day that the particular deities that they talk about, they are the ones who are supreme. Let them go on saying this. This is just to generate delusion amongst the moving and non-moving living beings. সেই সমস্ত আগমাদি ভালো করিয়া বিবেচনা করিয়া দেখিলে, but if one very carefully scrutinizes all of those scriptures, সিদ্ধান্ত স্থলে বিষ্ণু ই একমাত্র ভগবান বলিয়া নিশ্চিত হয়, then one will be able to ascertain, then it is ascertained that there is only one Bhagavan in conclusion, and that is Lord Vishnu. चराचरस्य स्थिरजंगमस्य जगतः व्यामोहाय अज्ञानतमो वर्धनाय ते ते पुराण आगमाः स्मृति तंत्र आदयः कल्पावधि कल्पकाल पर्यन्तं ताम ताम देवताम एव कामिकाम श्रेष्ठाम जल्पन्तु कथयन्तु इति उपहासे. Let all of those Puranas and the other literatures, various smritis, tantras, and so on, let all of them present for the increase of ignorance and spiritual darkness of the entire world consisting of the moving and the non-moving till the end of Brahma's day. Let them go on talking in this way. Now this is a statement of, this is a joke. Punah kintu, however, समस्त आगम व्यापारेषु समस्तानां सकलानां आगमानां शास्त्राणां व्यापारेषु प्रयोजनेषु विवेचन व्यतिकरं विवेचनस्य व्यापारस्य दूषणत्वेन तदेव स्कन्दपुराणादि विचारस्य व्यतिकरः आसंगः तं नीतेषु तेषु सत्सु. When one actually does the duty of collectively scrutinizing all of these scriptures, their deliberations, how they are talking about particular deities and so on, siddhante vishaye, then finally in conclusion, Vishnu eva ekah bhagavan sarveshwarah iti nishchiyate nirdharyate, then one is led to the conclusion that Vishnu alone is the one and only Bhagavan, the one and only Lord of everyone. Samsthapyate ityartha. He alone is established everywhere as that supreme being. This is a verse from Padma Purana. Okay, wait, let me go back to this. Caitanya Mahaprabhu then quoted a verse from the Padma Purana. There are many different Puranas with instructions for worshipping different types of demigods, but such instructions only bewilder people into thinking that the demigods are supreme. Yet, if one carefully studies the Puranas, he will find that Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, is the only object of worship. For example, in the Markandeya Purana, there is mention of Devi worship or worship of the goddess Durga or Kali. But in the same Purana, it is also stated that all the demigods, even Durga, are but different energies of Vishnu. Thus, the study of the Puranas reveals Vishnu, the supreme personality of Godhead, to be the only object of worship. Okay, heading अन्वय अन्वय अन्वयो व्यतिरेक भावे समग्र वेदे कृष्णई वेद्य or प्रतिपाद्य through direct and indirect deliberations throughout the Vedas. Lord Krishna alone is meant to be known, and he alone is the subject matter to be established and discussed. 146. मुख्य गौण वृत्ति किंबा अन्वय व्यतिरेके वेदेर प्रतिज्ञा केवल कहिए कृष्ण के. When one accepts the Vedic literature by interpretation or even by dictionary meaning, directly or indirectly, the ultimate declaration of Vedic knowledge points to Lord Krishna. One 46. Anubhashya. रूढ़ी और लक्षणावृत्ति अथवा अन्वय और व्यतिरेक दर्शने हो कृष्ण ही वेदे प्रतिपाद्य विषय रूपे निर्दिष्ट. Whether one follows the conventional meaning of words and expressions, or if one considers the secondary meanings of words and expressions, or whether one considers direct presentations or indirect presentations. In the Vedic literature, it is Lord Krishna alone who is being presented as the subject matter to be discussed. Shastra Praman, then he gives scriptural evidence. Shri Mukher Bani, the statement of the Supreme Lord from his own sacred mouth. Srimad Bhagavate, as found in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.21.42 and 43, 147 and 148. किम विद्यते किमाचष्टे किम अनुद्य विकल्पयेत् इत्यस्या हृदयं लोके नान्यो मद्वेद कश्चन मां विद्यते भितत्ते मां विकल्प्यापोह्यते ह्यहम्. एतावान् सर्ववेदार्थ शब्द आस्थाय मां भिदां माया मात्रम अनुद्यन्ते प्रतिषिध्य प्रसीदति. Lord Krishna said, what is the purpose of all Vedic literatures? On whom do they focus? Who is the object of all speculation? Outside of me, no one knows these things. Now you should know that all these activities are aimed at ordaining and setting forth me. The purpose of the Vedic literatures is to know me by different speculations, either by indirect understanding or by dictionary understanding. Everyone is speculating about me. The essence of all Vedic literatures is to distinguish me from Maya. By considering the illusory energy, one comes to the platform of understanding me. In this way, one becomes free from speculation about the Vedas and comes to me as the conclusion. Thus, one is satisfied. Amrta-Pravaha Bhashya. বেদ বচন সকল কাহাকে বিধান করে এবং কাহাকেই বা প্রতিপন্ন করে. All of the statements of the Vedas, to whom do they point out? For whose sake all of those statements are being made? Who is the ultimate object of all these discussions, because of which there is so much of conjecture? কাহাকে উদ্দেশ্য করিয়া বিকল্প না করে বেদের এরূপ তাৎপর্য আমি ব্যতীত আর কেহ জানে না. Nobody other than me understands the import of these statements of the Vedas. আমি বলিতেছি, I tell you. আমাকেই বেদ বচন সকল সাত বিধান অভিধান করে. All of these Vedic scriptures are directly talking about me. Mam vidhatte. They ordain all their injunctions for me. They are all talking about me. Abhidhan Gore. They are referring to me. এবং আমাকেই বিকল্পনা দ্বারা উক্তি করে. And they are conjecturing about me. আমি সর্ববেদার্থের একমাত্র তাৎপর্য. I am the only purport, only topic of ultimate topic of discussion for all of the Vedas. সর্ববেদার্থের একমাত্র তাৎপর্য বেদ মায়া মাত্রকে বিচার করিয়া তাহাকে পরিশেষে সম্পূর্ণরূপে প্রতিষেধ করত প্রসন্ন বিচারাদি হইতে শান্ত হয়. The Veda, it deliberates about Maya only, and then ultimately it denies that and then becomes satisfied in peace, having stopped all these conjectural deliberations. Anubhashya. বেদের বিধি ও নিষেধ সম্বন্ধে উদ্ধবের জিজ্ঞাসার ফলে শ্রীকৃষ্ণ প্রথমে বৈদিক কর্মকাণ্ডের ফলশ্রুতি ও পরে বিবিধ বৈদিক ছন্দ বর্ণন করিয়া স্বয়ংই যে গূঢ় রহস্যময় দুর্বিজ্ঞেয় সমগ্র ত্রিকাণ্ডাত্মক বেদের একমাত্র প্রতিপাদ্য ও বেদ্য বস্তু তাহা বলিতেছেন. Lord Shri Krishna, he was asked about the prescriptions and prohibitions found in the Vedas by Uddhava. After that, Lord Shri Krishna, he described the various falashrutis. Falashrutis means the various declarations in the scriptures of the benefits of carrying out particular duties spelled out in the scriptures. So he described the various falashrutis that are found in the Vedic Karma Kanda section. First of all, he did that. Lord Krishna described that. And then he described he spoke about various Vedic meters. And then finally, he said that he alone is the subject matter of discussion and understanding of the Veda, which is of three kandas, that he himself is the most confidential, incomprehensible subject. Brihatya Vaikharya Shrutehe Sakalyena Swarupataha Durgyeyatvamuktva Arsataha vi Durgyeyatvamaha. So he had already said that the words of the Shruti are so extensive. So by their very nature, it is not possible to understand what the Vedas say because they're so extensive. And then even from the perspective of their topic of discussion, their goal of discussion, even that is not easy to understand. Kim vidhatte karma deva jnana trikandatmaka veda shastra madhye karmakande vidhivakyehi kim vidadhati. What is being directed in the Vedas? No, the Vedas has got three parts: Karma Kanda, Deva Kanda, Jnana Kanda. Okay. Karma Kanda simply specifies what all needs to be done. within the Shruti, most of it is like this one. Samhita, Brahmana, and so on. Then there is Devakanda. There is a description about the presiding deities who fulfill these material benefits. Devata Kanda, sometimes it's called. Then you have the Jnana Kanda, the ones that actually provide information about reality. Upanishads. So within this Vedic scripture, which contains these three portions, there is the Karma Kanda. In the Karma Kanda, you have so many prescriptions that are present. So what exactly is being prescribed there? What is the nature of the prescriptions? Kim achashte, Devata Kande mantravakyehi kim prakashayati kathayati. And in the Devata Kanda, what is actually being discussed there through the various mantras? What is being revealed? What information is being revealed? Kim anudya jnanakande kim ashritya vikalpayati evam. And then in the Jnanakanda, what is being spoken and what is discussed as a conjecture, that is a good expression, conjecture. Ityevam asyashruteha hridayam taparyam loke ya jagati mattaha anyaha kashana na veda janati. Nobody understands the heart of the Veda, the purport of the Veda in this world except me. Nanu tarhi tvam mat kripaya kathaya iti kathayati. And then when Uddhava is thinking, all right, so out of mercy for me, please describe that to me. So then the Lord thinks, all right, I will tell. Mam yajyarupam vidhina vidhatte. The Veda ordains as prescriptions me. Literally, this is what he's saying. They're ordaining me, meaning they are instructing that you should engage in fire sacrifices which are not different from me. Abhidavritya mameva tattat devata rupam abhidatte. And simply by going with the dictionary meaning also, the Veda is talking about various presiding deities who are worshipped through those various sacrifices. But they are talking about me as the one who is being referred to by the dictionary meanings of the particular expressions while referring to those particular devatas. Like for instance, Indra, for instance, Indraya Swaha, in that mantra, there is the name of a deity, Indra. But that Indra originally is Vishnu himself. Because we know that, or for instance, take Agni. Ramanujacharya gives this as an example. For instance, Rigveda itself begins Agni Mele Purohitam. Okay, Agni. Agni. Agni can refer to that presiding deity of that sacred fire, Agni. Agni Devata. Or it can refer to Lord Vishnu, who is situated as the Antaryami of that Devata. Or Ramanujacharya also gives a simpler explanation. Agni literally means the leader. Agre Nayati iti Agnihi. Lord Narayana leads everyone from the front. He is the king of all kings. So therefore, he is the factual leader. So therefore, he is actually Agni. So all of these various deities that are being referred to, they are all referring to Krishna. So therefore, Krishna is telling here that they are actually talking about me. Ahameva vikalpya sandeham kritva apohyate nirakriyate tadapi ahameva namattah pratak asti. I myself, through various conjectures, bring about doubts and remove those doubts. All of that is me. Nothing separate, because nothing separate from me exists. Sarva Vedartham Sankshepatāh Kathayati. And then he briefly describes the purport of all the Vedas. Etavan eva Sarva Vedartha. All of this is the purport of the Vedas. Sarvesham Vedanam Tatparyam. Shabdaha, Vedaha, Bhidam, Avatara Adi Rupam, Anudya, Uktva, Maya Matram Jagat Pratishidhya, Nishidhya, Ante, Sheshe, Mam, Paramartha Rupam Asthaya, Ashritya, Prasidati, Nivritta Vyaparaha Bhavati, Mam Shri Krishna Rupam Eva, Avalambya, Kritakrityo Bhavati, Ityartha. The Vedic sound talk about differences, meaning the differences between the various forms that I incarnate as. And then that Vedic sound denies this world of illusion, meaning it denies that any of these incarnations, the various forms of the incarnations that are appearing in this world, it denies that they are affected in any manner by this world of illusion. And then finally, they take shelter of me and they are satisfied. They take shelter of me means that they finally admit that my form is fully spiritual. They take shelter of me in my original form of Sri Krishna, and they have nothing more to say. So they attain their perfection in this manner. Purport. These two verses are quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.21.42 to 43. Uddhava asked Krishna about the purpose of Vedic speculation. The Lord informed him of the process of understanding the Vedic literature. The Vedas are composed of Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. One who analytically studies the purpose of the Vedas understands that by Karma Kanda sacrificial activity, one comes to the conclusion of Jnana Kanda, speculative knowledge, and that after speculation, one comes to the conclusion that worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate. When one comes to this conclusion, he becomes fully satisfied. This is a fine summary of all of that has been presented here so far. Okay, then Ananta Swarup Krishna, Ananta Shakti Vaibhav. Lord Shri Krishna has unlimited personalities, unlimited forms, and he has unlimited potencies and glorious opulences. 149. Krishna Swarup Ananta Vaibhav Apa Chichakti Maya Shakti Jiva Shakti are. The transcendental form of Lord Krishna is unlimited, also has unlimited opulence. He possesses the internal potency, external potency, and marginal potency. 149. Okay, look at this. The conclusion is that directly or indirectly, all types of worship are more or less directed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita 9.23 confirms that one who worships the demigods is in fact only worshipping Krishna, because the demigods are but different parts of the body of Vishnu or Krishna, but that such worship is irregular. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.21.42 to 43 confirms this irregularity by answering the question, what is the purpose of the different types of worship described in the Vedic literature? In the Vedic literature, there are various divisions. One is called Karma Kanda, which describes purely ritualistic activities. And another is the Jnana Kanda, which describes speculation on the supreme absolute truth. Then what is the purpose of the ritualistic sections of the Vedic literature? And what is the purpose of the Upasana Kanda, which contains different mantras or hymns for worshipping various demigods? And what is the purpose of philosophical speculation on the subject of the absolute truth? Srimad Bhagavatam replies that in actuality, all of these methods described in the Vedic literature indicate the worship of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. In other words, they are all indirect ways of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sacrifices contained in the ritualistic portions of this literature are meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Indeed, because yajna sacrifice is specifically meant for satisfying Vishnu. Another name for Vishnu is Yajneshwara, or Lord of Sacrifices. Such neophytes are not on the transcendental level, and the Vedic literature advises them to worship different types of demigods according to their situation in the different modes of material nature. The idea is that gradually such neophytes may rise to the transcendental plane and engage in the service of Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, the Puranas advise the neophytes attached to eating flesh to eat it only after offering it to the goddess Kali. The philosophical sections of the Vedic hymns are intended to enable one to distinguish the Supreme Lord from Maya. After one understands the position of Maya, one can approach the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. That is the actual purpose of philosophical speculation. And Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita 7.19. After speculating for many, many births, the philosophical speculators and empiric philosophers ultimately surrender to me, Vasudeva, and accept that I am everything. It can thus be seen that all Vedic rituals and different types of worship and philosophical speculation ultimately aim at Krishna. Okay, I'll stop with that. Very interesting. Okay. Vanchakalpatarvyasya kripasimdhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.